Gong Su's eyes turned cold instantly. Since when were you allowed to tell me what to do? Zhou Wenbin was taken aback but didn't dare to offend this great young master. He also still needed his help with something, so he had no choice but to let this issue go. Oh right, Gong Su, have you heard anything about that new manager in the company lately? Zhou Wenbin pretended to ask casually. Gong Su narrowed his eyes. The manager who compared me to a has-been? Zhou Wenbin's eyes glistened when he saw that Gong Su didn't look too pleased. That's right, that guy. He has the backing of Chairman Chu and is very arrogant. When I wanted to exchange Lin Hao for Luo Chen, he came up with some nonsense, saying he would only agree if I gave you to him. These days, that Luo Chen is the most popular candidate for the supporting role in Terrifying Dragon 2. It's his time to shine. Tisk, is this little issue even worth worrying about? Gong Su crossed his legs and rested them on top of the coffee table. His face filled with disdain as he said, "Don't worry about it, I can wipe out that guy with just a finger." Seeing that Gong Su was successfully angered, the corners of Zhou Wenbin's lips lifted upwards. Since Gong Su's feathers are ruffled, Yi Bai will definitely have a hard time now. He's just a newly appointed little manager, how dare he fight with me? Jean Garden, I'm back. Housekeeper Su, how's the master today? Is he any better? Yi Wanwan was still ignorant about everything that happened online. Carrying a plastic bag, she walked in. The first thing she did was check on Si Yihan's condition. When Su Yi saw that Yi Wanwan had returned, he felt like he was looking at his own backbone and felt an indescribable calmness. He quickly replied, "Master's condition today is all right." In the morning, after he got up from the chair, he felt a little dizzy for a while. At noon, he vomited after taking his medicine, then he ate again later on. In the afternoon, the medicine that he took with you watching him went down fine, he didn't vomit anymore. Su Yi's face was somewhat somber as he continued. Also, the old madam got a Western doctor to take a look at Ninth Master's illness. What was the outcome? Although Yi Wanwan knew the outcome full well, she still probed anxiously. Su Yi sighed lightly and shook his head. He reached the same conclusion as Dr. Sun. He also said, "Master will have at most 6 months to live." Yi Wanwan's face darkened slightly, then she took a deep breath and said, "Don't be nervous. As the saying goes, illnesses come quickly and go away slowly. It's only been a couple of days, take it slow." Dr. Sun also mentioned that recuperation is a long-term process. We can't rush it. Su Yi nodded, then he said with a heavy expression, "Miss Wanwan, I won't hide it from you. There's a trickier issue at hand right now." What is it? The news of Ninth Master's grave illness leaked out somehow, and now there's already quite a bit of reshuffling in the family clan. The old madam is worried about Ninth Master's health, so she doesn't allow him to interfere, and she went to investigate the incident involving the traitor. Su Yi told Yi Wanwan the barefaced truth. Yi Wanwan froze. She couldn't help but recall what happened in her past life. Back then, the old madam seemed to be the person who investigated the incident as well. In the end, when all the clues were just about to be pieced together, the old madam passed away suddenly and the clues vanished. At that point in time, the Si family told outsiders that the old madam passed away due to a serious sickness, but how could there be such a coincidence? She passed away the day before she was about to confront the traitor. The mastermind behind the scenes definitely had something to do with the old madam's death. Once they were sure Si Yihan's health would continue to deteriorate, the mastermind would definitely become even more fearless. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Si Mingli had nothing to fear, actually. With the old madam's means, she would find out he was responsible sooner or later. The trickier problem was the man behind the scenes. And regarding this man behind the scenes, even Yi Wanwan didn't know who he was. Got it? If there's any news from the old madam's side, do inform me immediately, Yi Wanwan said. Su Yi nodded instantly. Yes. When Yi Wanwan heard that, she raised her brows slightly. Housekeeper Su trusts me so much now? Su Yi knew very well that the mole was already dead and that Yi Wanwan didn't find out about the classified information through the mole at all. Logically speaking, he should have been suspicious of her true identity. Instead, Su-yi replied solemnly, I believe in Miss Wanwan and I also believe in Ninth Master's judgment. Yi Wanwan burst out in laughter. That's right, your sense of awareness is much higher than certain people. Su-yi knew who Yi Wanwan was referring to, so he coughed lightly and said, Cough, Lu-ying, he's just a little stubborn. Yi Wanwan waved it off and said, I'll go take a look at your master now. The evening medication should be ready by now, right? I'll bring it over. Sure, I'll carry it here. After some time, Yi Wanwan took the bowl of medicine from Su-yi's hands and went upstairs to the bedroom. She pushed the door open. All she saw was Si Han sitting on a wicker chair on the balcony. On the round table in front of him was a pot of tea and a notebook which had pages flipping lightly in the evening breeze. It was a rare moment, seeing Si Han out of his work mode. For some reason, watching Si Han silently sitting there gave her a peculiar kind of loneliness, like he was all by himself in this entire world. Si Han was godlike when he worked, devising strategies and making plans. Everything went according to his plans and was under his control. But when he rested, he was like someone who lost his way, like he didn't know where he should be heading. This man, is it possible he doesn't have any other interests aside from working? Isn't it basic human instinct to slack off? It's so rare for him to take a break, and now that he gets one since he's sick, he doesn't find anything fun to do. Instead, he only knows how to sit there in a daze. Yi Wanwan carried the medicine over helplessly. Take your medicine. Only when he heard the girl's voice did he turn around slowly. His deep eyes landed on her and finally focused. This time, Si Han didn't need Yi Wanwan's nagging. He took the bowl of black Chinese medicine straight away and gulped it down in one mouthful. He was extremely cooperative. Yi Wanwan gulped. Even she could almost taste the bitterness. After he was done, Yi Wanwan quickly placed the bowl down on the table, then took out a candied plum that she just bought from the dessert shop. Quick, open your mouth. Si Han glanced at her. Yi Wanwan couldn't wait for his reaction. She used her little hand to pinch the candied plum and stuffed it straight into his mouth, then looked at him in anticipation. A soft ka sound resounded. It was the candied plum knocking lightly against his teeth before it was squeezed by his tongue. Si Han tasted the sweet flavor abruptly stuffed into his mouth, and it immediately diluted the strong bitterness of the medicine. Noticing that his forehead seemed to ease up a little, Yi Wanwan gladly took credit. Was it sweet? I went to the shop to buy this candied plum especially for you. Next time, eat a few of them each time you take your medication, then it won't be so bitter anymore. There are no seeds in these, which makes them much easier to eat. You didn't have to go through the trouble, Si Han said. Yi Wanwan blinked. It was no trouble at all. Why tough it out if you can suffer less? The moment she said that, Yi Wanwan felt a huge force pulling her, and the next second, she was in his arms. His deep and hoarse voice traveled to her ears. You just had to do this. This means that I'm sweeter than candied plums? Yi Wanwan stood still in his embrace and turned to look at him, surprised that Si Han actually had this level of EQ. Could this be because he's dying? I feel that Si Han seems much gentler lately. While Yi Wanwan entertained these thoughts, Si Han answered a call while still holding her in his embrace. After listening to the other party on the phone speak for a while, he replied expressionlessly, no need to send him to the prosecution hall, just dump him at Dragon Burial Hill. Dragon Burial Hill is a burial site for unmarked graves, located in the suburbs. When Yi Wanwan heard that, her face darkened. It's such a romantic moment, can't he mind his tone? What EQ? It was really just a fleeting moment after all. Before going to bed, Yi Wanwan had the habit of scanning through some entertainment news. That night, she realized Gong Su's name was everywhere. Gong Su's new darling, little candied plum fairies online. The whole nation looks for the candied plum girl, a love sparked by a box of candied plums. Gong Su's empty confession to a passerby. Gong Su's back? Seeing Gong Su's name, Yi Wanwan's interest was piqued. After all, Gong Su was Zhou Wenbin's strongest playing card. But what on earth are little candied plum fairy and candied plum girl? Yi Wanwan quickly opened one of the articles and found out Gong Su had posted on his Weibo that he was looking for someone. The entertainment industry's playboy seemed to have his eyes set on a passerby. As a public figure, his popularity took a hit from a recent scandal, yet he actually dared to post something like this on his Weibo so soon afterwards. Plus, it was a confession that he was looking for someone. He definitely wasn't your average person. He was rich and willful. Zhou Wenbin was probably completely stressed out over this. Considering Gong Su's background, he was a very powerful playing card indeed, but it was probably not an easy task managing him. Yi Wanwan continued reading the contents of the Weibo post like it was no big deal while she mocked him. This evening at 8:16 p.m., at the entrance of the candy dessert shop, I fell into the river of love. The moment she read the first line, Yi Wanwan was somewhat surprised. The incident actually took place at the location she was at not too long ago. But when she read the second line, Yi Wanwan froze. Please help me find that little fairy who bought the last 3 boxes of candied plums? There was only one candy dessert shop in all of Imperial City and it was located under her apartment. The person who bought the last 3 boxes of candied plums, wasn't that me? Damn. What's going on here? Yi Wanwan was stunned for quite some time, then she quickly continued reading. She saw his public confession. She gifted me a box of candied plums but stole my heart away. Yi Wanwan's jaw dropped. She was in a daze for at least 10 seconds before coming to her senses. She was completely stupefied. Not only was she the one who bought the last 3 boxes of candied plums tonight, but she was also the one who gave a box away. She read the post again carefully, even the time and place matched. So that masked man I met at the dessert shop just now was actually Gong Su. She had been wondering whether he was some star, but who could have guessed that not only was he a star, he was actually Zhou Wenbin's strongest playing card. Must it be such a coincidence? Truly, enemies walk on narrow roads. What kind of ill-fated meeting was this? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yi Wanwan continued scrolling down quickly and to her horror, Gong Su even drew a portrait of her. Damn. I'm screwed. Yi Wanwan's heart beat harder and faster. She felt hesitant to keep scrolling down. She only dared to open her eyes a tiny sliver. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled down. After seeing that portrait clearly, Yi Wanwan froze once again. Ha! Gong Su, go to hell. What nonsense did he draw? Other than getting the color of my clothes right, which part of this looks anything like me? While she mocked him, Yi Wanwan heaved a sigh of relief, thankful that he didn't have any artistic talent at all. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have been so kind to give him any candied plums seeing as he's so pitiful. Now everyone was on the lookout for her and she wasn't sure whether anyone took notice of her when she bought the candied plums. It seemed like she had to be more cautious these next few days and avoid being in the vicinity of the apartment dressed as a girl. The next day, Yi Wanwan changed into a male outfit and wore a mask just in case. She headed down to the candy dessert shop discreetly to nose around. Although Gong Su's reputation was in complete ruin, he was still very popular. His title as the Little Prince of Scandals was legitimate. But within one night, the candy dessert shop quickly became a place of interest. Many fans dropped by and were even taking photos for memory's sake. With these gossipy passers-by, the entire street was packed. There were also reporters who were interviewing the shop assistant who worked that night. Yi Wanwan stood in the crowd and pricked her ears, listening. Reporter: Hello miss, were you the shop assistant who served the little candied plum fairy? Shop assistant: Yes, since there were only 3 boxes of candied plums left, that lady bought all of them, so I have a bit of an impression of her, plus that girl. Reporter: What about that girl? Shop assistant: That girl was extremely stunning. The reporter said excited, Really? Extremely stunning? Shop assistant: Yes, it's that kind of classic beauty. I've seen many actors and actresses while working here, along with some A-listers. At the time, I thought this girl was some superstar, but I didn't find her familiar at all and was sure I hadn't seen her on any TV shows, so she probably wasn't someone from the entertainment industry. The reporter probed excitedly, Then could you please describe the girl's looks? The shop assistant hesitated and replied apologetically, I'm sorry, this implicates the customer's privacy. I can't answer that. The reporter persisted several times but was rejected politely by the shop assistant. Listening up to this point, Yuan felt relieved. Thankfully, this shop followed some rules, but even if the shop assistant described her appearance, it would be pretty much impossible to find her with just a verbal description. When Han Xianyu heard that, he froze. Describe you? Yuan was stunned as well. She really wanted to kill herself after she realized what she just said. The more guilty I am, the more I panic and the easier it is to make mistakes. Yuan hurriedly said, No. What I meant was, how did he describe that girl who lives here? Han Xianyu glanced at Yuan suspiciously but said after a while, I'm not sure whether she really lives in our building. Cough. Oh, you haven't answered my question. What exactly did Gongsu say? Maybe I've seen her before. Yuan quickly changed the subject. Han Xianyu took a seat on the sofa in the living room. He opened WeChat on his phone, then passed the phone over to her. He massaged his temples lethargically and said, I was almost tortured to death by that guy last night. Listen to it yourself. Yuan took the phone and saw the private chat log between Han Xianyu and Gongsu. Gongsu sent numerous voice messages to Han Xianyu which went on until midnight. Yuan opened the recordings and all she heard was, Gongsu, please think carefully whether you've seen her before. I really think she lives in that apartment building and she might even be your neighbor. Yuan, must his intuition be so darn terrifying? Gongsu, she wore a white dress at the time and there was floral embroidery on both her sleeves and collar. She had her hair up in a ponytail and was in a pair of pink stilettos. Her skin was like lychee, her eyes were like the almonds you see on top of cakes and her lips were like cherry blossom jelly. Yuan, what kind of description is this? Gongsu, don't ignore me. If I can't find her, my life will just be an empty desert. Please, you must help me. I'll do anything you want. Gongsu, hey. Yuji, are you asleep? I can't fall asleep. All I think about is the little fairy. I can't have her even if I buy all the candied plums in the world. What should I do? Gongsu, I had a nightmare. I dreamt that my little fairy was locked up by a great devil king. I have to save her. Yuan, he actually got it right again. There were still over 100 voice messages left, but Yuan had a headache just listening to a couple. She glanced empathetically at Han Xianyu, who had been harassed an entire night. This guy is really indescribable. Han Xianyu burst out in laughter. Even if I knew who the girl was, I would never tell him. I'll prevent him from harming any other women. Yuan nodded continuously, approving Han Xianyu's noble intentions. That's right. Han Xianyu thought for a second then muttered, but it's a little different this time. In the past, that Gongsu guy didn't have any principles at all and refused everybody. He never chased after any woman because he found it too troublesome. This is the first time I've seen him make the first move and he's so crazy about her. But a leopard can't change its spots. Who knows how long he'll stay interested? After Han Xianyu said his piece, he finally got around to proper business and said seriously, Oh right, almost forgot, Luo Chen will be going for the Terrifying Dragon 2 casting very soon. Zhou Wenbin definitely has something planned, probably to give you a hard time and he might use Gongsu's connections. You must be careful. Yuan nodded. Got it, thank you. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. After Yuan sent Han Xianyu off, she suddenly remembered the voice messages Gongsu sent. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Is this guy magic or something? Why doesn't he set up a stall to read people's fortunes? He got so many things right even when he was just blabbering casually. He could totally steal some fortune-telling business from me. In the next 2 days, Yuan took note of Zhou Wenbin's movements while she quickly went through the script with Luo Chen. Zhou Wenbin didn't seem to be plotting anything. Yuan had no idea what he had up his sleeves. As for Gongsu, he had always been very high profile. The whole world knew he was looking for someone, and not only did he mobilize his fans, but he even mobilized everyone around him. Now the entire industry knew about it. Luckily, Yi Wanwan rarely dressed as a girl in her neighborhood and would wear a mask if she did. Even if anyone saw her in the shop that day, the possibility of finding her was slim. This kind of incident would probably pass after a week when they couldn't find her, so Yi Wanwan wasn't very worried about it and focused on preparing for the casting. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the casting. The launch of the Terrifying Dragon 2 project caused a huge buzz. Many actors worked very hard to get a piece of the action. On the day of the casting, a few actors arrived very early at the casting venue. Since Song Jin Lin and the others hadn't arrived, the actors gathered together and started chatting. I heard Ling Xiaozhi is already confirmed as the male lead? Of course he is. Not only was he part of the original cast of Terrifying Dragon, he also calls the shots at Emperor Sky Entertainment and he's insanely popular now. Now that he's willing to make some time to continue acting in this role, that's exactly what the director wants, a starlet said in a matter-of-fact tone. I heard they wanted to use the original cast for the filming of Terrifying Dragon 2. Just as these people were chatting amongst themselves, Yi Wanwan walked in with Luo Qin. Everyone looked up. The moment they noticed the two people who walked in, their gazes became odd. Original cast? Oh, here comes another one from the cast. One of the starlets sized up Luo Qin who was standing beside Yi Wanwan, a tinge of ridicule in his eyes. Before, when Terrifying Dragon was just released, this Luo Qin was also popular for a period of time, but now. That person didn't finish his sentence, but the others knew exactly what he meant. Luo Chen's performance in Terrifying Dragon wasn't bad. He also used to be really popular, but this only lasted a year. After that, there was no news of Luo Chen at all, while Ling Xiaozhi, who debuted at the same time as him and acted in Terrifying Dragon with him, became more and more successful. Today, he was at a position where ordinary actors couldn't compare to him. They were two people who came from the same TV series, yet after a few years, they were a world apart. Terrifying Dragon 2 mentioned they preferred the original cast, but that's not set in stone. Luo Chen has been so quiet all these years, how could it be that easy for him to come back to fight for this part? I heard that the supporting role has already been given to Su Ming behind closed doors. Su Ming? Isn't he the godson of one of the sponsors for Terrifying Dragon 2? I think Luo Chen probably doesn't stand a chance anymore. What does he expect? Does he really think he's still the same actor as before? He only became slightly famous from a little Weibo post. He should be grateful he's even being considered for the casting. The starlets gathered together and mocked him between themselves. None of them thought that Luo Chen had the slightest chance of getting the supporting role. Although they weren't speaking loudly, their conversation was more or less heard by Luo Chen and Yi Wanwan. Luo Chen's face stiffened when he heard Su Ming's name. Yi. Luo Chen wanted to speak, but he stopped and looked at Yi Wanwan. The level of trust in his eyes had obviously decreased. Yi Wanwan looked at Luo Chen's expression. She raised her brows and asked, "Why? Scared now?" Luo Chen shook his head immediately. "No, don't think about anything else. Just remember that from the moment the casting begins, you're Lin Luo Chen." Yi Wanwan looked into Luo Chen's unsettled eyes with vigor. Luo Chen looked at Yi Wanwan's eyes and his heart shuddered. He lowered his gaze and recalled everything Yi Wanwan had done to prepare him for the casting as he clenched his fists. He painstakingly planned and prepared this rare opportunity for me. I must not let him down. When Luo Chen lifted his head once again, the unsettledness in his eyes had disappeared completely. Yi Wanwan saw the determination in Luo Chen's eyes and the corners of her lips lifted into a smile. Just at this moment, Su Ming, who was accompanied by his manager, walked into the studio. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. The artists who were still engrossed in their discussion immediately went silent after they saw Su Ming walk in. Su Ming had a rather impressive figure. His looks were in line with the current aesthetic taste of the moment, and he had a height of around 1.8 meters, as tall as a clothes rack. There was nothing much to pick on him about his personality, and on top of that, he wasn't bad at acting. He had been having strong momentum in the entertainment industry the past few years, and his popularity was continuing to soar. Su Ming strode into the studio and the pair of arrogant eyes on his self-assured face swept around the studio. His manager, following behind him, smiled. Ming, Director Song and the others haven't arrived yet. Please wait here for a while. Su Ming nodded lightly. When his gaze hovered over Luo Chen and Yi Wanwan, who were a few steps away, his brows raised instinctively. The manager noticed Su Ming looking in that direction and followed his line of sight. He said, Ming, Luo Chen's here today too, probably to audition for the supporting role as well. I know, Su Ming replied casually. Su Ming suddenly walked towards Luo Chen and Yi Wanwan. Luo Chen was adjusting his state of mind and mentally preparing for the casting later on when he saw Su Ming walking over with his manager. His eyes flashed slightly as he subconsciously glanced at Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan calmly gave Luo Chen a meaningful glance, hinting at him to hold his horses. She then turned to look at Su Ming, who was making his way over. In terms of his appearance, Su Ming could be considered quite attractive. In her past life, the role of Lin Luo Chen in Terrifying Dragon 2 was played by Su Ming. Even though Su Ming had the advantage of a sponsor, his acting wasn't bad, and because of Terrifying Dragon 2, his popularity soared even higher. It was just that, comparing their acting skills alone, there was a huge gap between Su Ming and Luo Chen. This was also why Yi Wanwan dared to allow Luo Chen to fight for the role of Lin Luo Chen. Luo Chen. Su Ming walked over to Luo Chen and Yi Wanwan. He raised his brows and had a condescending look in his eyes. Suji. Luo Chen was younger than Su Ming by a year, and although they had never spoken before, it was better to be more polite. Su Ming smiled. Luo Chen, I watched the first Terrifying Dragon that you were in. It was amazing. I really liked Lin Luo Chen's role as well. There was a hint of surprise in Luo Chen's eyes. Su Ming actually praised him. Luo Chen could only respond politely. But before Luo Chen could say anything, Su Ming suddenly made a detour. But after all these years, you never acted in any shows and now you suddenly want to act in Terrifying Dragon 2. I wonder if your skills are... As he spoke, Su Ming sized up Luo Chen and said, As an actor, I understand how scary it is for your acting skills to decline after going on a hiatus for a couple years. But don't worry, even though you won't be able to handle the role of Lin Luo Chen, you can still look for other walk-on parts in Terrifying Dragon 2. Although what Su Ming said sounded quite courteous, there was sarcasm concealed within each and every word. The few artists who were watching the scene naturally heard the sarcasm in Su Ming's tone. He was clearly mocking Luo Chen for showing up to free ride on the popularity of Terrifying Dragon 2, even though he didn't have any skills in acting. Su Ming's right. Luo Chen disappeared for such a long time and he only ever acted in the first series of Terrifying Dragon in his entire career, right? He really thinks he can take away the role of Lin Luo Chen from Su Ming, huh? Exactly, he doesn't have an understanding of his own abilities and thinks that victory is in his hands due to being from the original cast, huh? He should see for himself, now, regardless of whether it's skills, popularity or background, he can't compare with Su Ming. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. One may say that Su Ming was very arrogant. But he could afford to be arrogant. He had both skills and a strong backer. Although his acting skills were a far cry from old-school artists, if Su Ming was compared to a group of young idols, his acting skills would be considered pretty good. For example, the classic bad example, Gong Su, even though he gained popularity through his stunning looks and abundance of wealth, his acting was too horrible to even watch. He could only show one facial expression from start to finish. He couldn't even remember his lines and only said the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 while acting, forcing the dubber to add his lines in manually. Photoshop cutouts, using substitutes, and all kinds of other shady techniques weren't out of the ordinary. So a young man like Su Ming who was popular, had a sponsor as his backer and had average acting skills was already considered quite remarkable. No wonder he got the part of Lin Luo Chen in Yi Wanwan's past life. If the director was anybody else, Yi Wanwan wouldn't have dared to bet that Luo Chen could fight with Su Ming, but the director this time was Song Jin Lin, the Song Jin Lin who revived the second season of Terrifying Dragon, to fulfill Lin Zhong's final wish. To him, the most important principle, more important than having sponsors or the original cast, was the artist's acting skills and also his perception of the role. In her past life, Su Ming was the best candidate according to Song Jin Lin. However, if there was someone more suitable for the role than Su Ming, the hype she created for Luo Chen was simply to help him gain entry into the competition. Right here was where Luo Chen's real fight would begin. Facing everyone's ridicule and insults, Yi Wanwan curled her lips upwards and said casually, "If you're talking about fame, background or backing, Luo Chen doesn't compare to Su Ming, he's not even as good as anyone else here." But since today's the casting, the judges only care about one thing: talent. And from what I heard just now, Mr. Su seems to have a misunderstanding of my artist's abilities. I'm afraid I have to let you all down today. If there's nothing going on behind the scenes, then based on acting skills alone, nobody can replace Luo Chen in playing the part of Lin Luo Chen. Yi Wanwan's words immediately caused an uproar. Damn, this person really dares to talk big. Nobody can replace Luo Chen in playing the part of Lin Luo Chen? He isn't scared of getting his tongue twisted for bragging. This new manager is too cocky. You mean brainless? He dared to spout nonsense even at times like this. He's just ruining his own reputation. When Su Ming heard what she said, his face darkened. His manager, Wu Zhengfei, looked at Yi Wanwan and sneered. "Tisk, Manager Yi, don't be so boastful. If you get slapped in the face later, I'm afraid that wouldn't look too good." Yi Wanwan waved him off. "Then why don't we have a live telecast, a public casting?" Wu Zhengfei instantly furrowed his brows when he heard her words. Yi Wanwan turned directly to Su Ming and asked, "Why? You don't dare?" There was a storm of protest after Yi Wanwan said that. Damn, is he crazy? He actually requested a public live telecast of the casting? Is he not embarrassed enough? What do you guys know? This Yi Bai is so crafty, he was able to bring an artist past his prime into a casting like this. How could he not have any tricks up his sleeve? He's obviously trying to free ride on Su Ming's fame. So that's why, he clearly knows he'll lose without a doubt, yet he still wants to take advantage of Su Ming's popularity. He's really shameless. Everyone was in the middle of a heated discussion when the director, assistant director, producer and the others entered one after another. Some of them had overheard the conversation between Yi Wanwan and Su Ming. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Song Jin Lin stopped in his tracks and took a glance in the direction of the young manager who had just spoken so wildly. Su Ming was young and impulsive. How could he tolerate Yi Wanwan talking to him like this? Furthermore, he had always been known as the best actor among the young idols and was relatively confident about his acting. Thus, Su Ming immediately walked up to Song Jin Lin and said, "Director Song, I request a public casting. In case someone gets jealous in the future and spreads rumors that I got this role through the back door." Public casting? Song Jin Lin was slightly doubtful when he heard that. Yes. Don't be rash. There's no need to bother with a buffoon who only knows how to exploit others. Wu Zhengfei quickly pulled Su Ming away. But Su Ming didn't care. He looked at Luo Chen directly and said, "Luo Chen, dare to make a bet with me?" Luo Chen clenched his fists slightly. "Bet on what?" Su Ming said proudly, "If I win, record a video of yourself telling all the netizens and fans of the original work that you, Luo Chen, aren't good enough for the role of Lin Luo Chen." Wu Zhengfei wanted to stop Su Ming at first, but after hearing what Su Ming said, he hesitated. For sequels like this, the most troubling issue was that the fans of the original work would compare the original to the sequel. If they were able to tarnish Luo Chen's image in his fans' hearts in the process of today's casting, that would be very beneficial for Su Ming. He already had some inside information about Luo Chen. He hadn't taken on any projects in the past 3 years, according to the internal staff at Dazzling Media. Also, the video which made him famous took an entire day to film, as he had NG countless times before they could capture that scene. As for Su Ming, he spent a lot of money and hired a teacher to give him 6 months of special training. His acting couldn't easily be compared to the skills of an ordinary newbie. Wu Zhengfei intentionally chose this sequel for Su Ming as his transformation piece as he works towards becoming a capable artist. Faced with Su Ming's taunting, Luo Chen was silent for a long time before he said, "What if I get the role?" Su Ming acted like this possibility never crossed his mind and he replied mockingly, "If you win, you can do anything you like." This time, Luo Chen didn't look like he was going to cower in fear. He gestured to Su Ming's manager and said, mouthing each word clearly, "If I win, please get your manager, Mr. Wu, to apologize to my manager for everything he said just now." Yi Wanwan purposely remained silent, wanting to see how Luo Chen would handle this situation, but she didn't expect that he would come up with a request like this. Wu Zhengfei's face turned stormy when he heard what Luo Chen said. "I've been in the industry for 7 to 8 years now, but he actually wants me to apologize to a newbie?" Su Ming shrugged and said, "Sure." At this moment, Song Jinlin was already deep in conversation with the producer and assistant director. As far as the crew was concerned, having a public casting would hype the series up, so naturally they weren't against it. If they could push Su Ming's popularity higher and gain support from fans through the public casting, that would be ideal. Thus, the crew didn't even ask for Luo Chen's opinion and immediately agreed to Su Ming's request. Shortly after, the crew posted on Weibo informing everyone that in half an hour, there would be a live telecast for the casting of the role of Lin Luo Chen. Although it was a last-minute decision, this Weibo post still attracted the attention of many fans and netizens. The live telecast started and a large audience came flooding in. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Yi Wanwan watched coldly by the side as the crew got everything they wished for and prepared for the live broadcast with high efficiency. They already concluded that Luo Chen's skills weren't as good as other actors, and they were eagerly waiting to see Lin Luo Chen used as a stepping stone to advance Su Ming's career, thus maximizing the benefits. Meanwhile, Yi Wanwan was taking advantage of this exact mentality of the crew in addition to Su Ming's ego to smoothly execute this live broadcast. Luo Chen turned to Yi Wanwan, feeling a little guilty for deciding to agree to Su Ming's bet. Well, was I too impulsive just now? Yi Wanwan laughed. Impulsive? I thought we were on the same page? The live public broadcast was initiated by her first after all. By obtaining affirmation from Yi Wanwan, it was like Luo Chen's teetering little boat gained a sail. There was now a determination in his eyes. At this point in time, the selection of roles for Terrifying Dragon 2 was a hot topic and the casting drew even more attention. Once news of the crew changing the casting to a live public broadcast went out, almost every netizen was filled with excitement. Ever since live broadcasts were popularized, this was the first time a production actually had a live broadcast of a casting, so this broadcast attracted many viewers due to its novelty. Shortly after, the live broadcast began. All the candidates drew lots for their casting sequence, then each individual auditioned in sequence. To facilitate the live broadcast, the casting venue was changed to a big hall that could accommodate up to 100 people. While the artists auditioned, other artists waiting for their turn could also watch from the side so that there would be total transparency. The crew arranged for the stage manager to be the host for this live broadcast, and he explained the reason for having a live broadcast this time, embellishing the story. The main idea was that Luo Chen's staff started the provocation and Su Ming took up the challenge to prove his abilities, so they opted for a live public broadcast. In order to build up the hype, the stage manager even mentioned the wager between Su Ming and Luo Chen. The bullet screen started to flood with comments and was very quickly taken over by Su Ming's fans. What the hell? Aside from Su Ming, is no one else allowed to play the role of Lin Luo Chen? However perfect things may seem, better actors can always show up. Isn't this a little too arrogant, huh? I admit that the original Lin Luo Chen was indeed a classic, but Luo Chen hasn't acted for 3 years. Who knows whether he can perform as well as before? In contrast, everyone can see our Su Ming's acting and how diligent he's been ever since his debut. He even cleared his schedule to go abroad for a few months to improve himself. This is the attitude needed for the role. Someone who idles his time away, Not producing any work for so many years and only dishes up the same old stuff to gain popularity won't cut it. Exactly. Our Su Ming has 1987, Three People's Travel, and Everything is Wonderful, over 10 classic works, while Luo Chen only has one, Terrifying Dragon. Is he only going to count on Terrifying Dragon his whole life? He even wants to freeload on the popularity of the casting. Ming, all the best. Make him lose till his own mother doesn't recognize him. Aside from Su Ming's fans, the original fans and some onlookers expressed their concerns. Actually, compared to other candidates, I'm most scared that the role of Lin Luo Chen would be ruined in the hands of the original actor. The memory of my favorite classic film would be ruined. That's right, if Luo Chen can't handle this role, why not let our memories stop at the beautiful moments? In order to increase the level of excitement and hype, the production team positioned Su Ming and Luo Chen's castings at the end on purpose. The harsh fans of the original work criticized almost every candidate like they were worthless. Song Jin-lin was also unsatisfied with the performances of many candidates, and his brows were furrowed from beginning till end. Bullet Screen is a feature on online video sites which allows real-time comments from viewers to fly across the screen like bullets. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Right now, there were only 2 candidates who had yet to audition. One of them was a popular newbie, Su Ming, the hottest choice for the supporting role, who possessed both skill and good looks, while the other was Luo Chen, very popular among the fans of the original work, who originally played Lin Luo Chen. Wu Zhengfei thought back to his sources once again and was sure that aside from his routine training, Luo Chen hadn't taken up any special training and hadn't hired any famous instructors to guide him. When Luo Chen first acted as Lin Luo Chen, he was very fresh, young and natural. Now, Luo Chen's acting skills were still quite green, and even if he was able to meet a certain standard, he couldn't compare with the Su Ming today. After all, the role of Lin Luo Chen in the second season was much more challenging than in the first season. What kind of artist could this impulsive and brainless manager produce? He only knows how to use low methods like abusing others' fame to gain popularity. TSK, he wants to abuse Su Ming's fame? Then we'll let him abuse it all he wants. After all, in the entertainment industry, getting flamed is also a way of gaining fame, right? We just hope that they can handle it. The producer glanced at Su Ming and Luo Chen and his eyes lit up. Now, we're left with Su Ming and Luo Chen. These 2 people are also the candidates everyone is most interested in for the role of Lin Luo Chen. In order to clearly distinguish between the strengths of these 2 candidates, why don't we do this? The producer thought about it and suggested, Su Ming and Luo Chen can have their auditions at the same time. The 2 directors and I will pick a topic. After that, it's up to the 2 of them to decide how they would like to act it out. What do you all think? The producer spoke so naturally that the assistant director was tempted to go along with it. This idea's not bad. But who's going first and who will go second? The one who goes first seems to be at a disadvantage, right? I'll go first then. Senior Luo Chen hasn't acted in so many years that I don't want to have an unfair advantage. Su Ming glanced at Luo Chen at the side and volunteered himself. The producer nodded, satisfied with Su Ming's offer. Since this is the case, Su Ming, you'll start. The assistant director already agreed to it, so while Song Jin-lin furrowed his brows slightly, he didn't object to it either. Yi Wanwan crossed her arms and the corners of her lips lifted into a sneer. As they would be throwing out the topics on the spot, there would definitely be less time for the one who went first to think of a strategy, and on the surface, it looked like Su Ming would be at a disadvantage. However, the fact was that the first person could do whatever he liked, but for the second person, if Luo Chen coincidentally did the same act as Su Ming, he would definitely be criticized for copying Su Ming even if his idea was original. Also, first impressions were the strongest. Luo Chen, going second, would be in a passive position. The first scene Song Jin-lin drew from the lot was the one when Lin Luo Chen met the male lead many years after he fell for the devil's teachings. Lin Luo Chen had to reply to interrogations from the male lead. Su Ming stood in the middle of the big hall and shut his eyes. In just 5 short seconds, he got into character. He placed one hand behind himself and stood upright like he was inviting strong winds. TSK, the right path? Evil path? What's right and what's evil? Yunhai, you're still so naive. Su Ming looked at the empty space as if the male lead, Yunhai, was standing there. He revealed a mocking gaze of contempt towards the invisible lead. Following that, Su Ming's acting immediately became 30% crazy and 70% violent. Let me tell you, history has always been written by the victors. From this day forward, this place is good if I say it's good and evil if I say it's evil. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Every movement and expression was executed well. Even his rate of speech and pauses were in line with character. He was on a totally different level compared to the newbie's exaggerated performances. What? Are Su Ming's amazing? Aggressive, domineering, cool and awesome. He's totally my ideal Lin Luochen. Who said nobody could surpass Luochen as Lin Luochen? As a fan of the original work, Su Ming wasn't bad indeed, much better than all the others who auditioned just now. He really executed the tyrannical Lin Luochen well. He gave a feeling of breaking free from his bondage and becoming unworldly. I find that Luochen has a greater advantage. Not only does he have more time to prepare, but he can also copy our precious Ming's acting and bluff his way out. Isn't this a little unfair? I'd like to see how he'll act later. If he dares to copy our precious Ming, we'll flame him to death. As for Su Ming's acting, the assistant director and producer nodded with satisfaction repeatedly. Even Song Jin Lin, who hadn't looked too happy the entire evening, started to ease up as well. When the assistant director turned to Luochen, he looked quite insincere and gave a perfunctory reminder, "Luochen, you may start." Compared to Su Ming, who got into character in 5 seconds, Luochen continued sitting in his seat after the assistant director told him to start. Very soon, people started throwing insults. What's going on? He's taking so long to get into character? Su Ming only took 5 seconds. As a professional actor, getting into character quickly is the most basic skill. He can't even do this, and this is when he has the advantage of going after Su Ming. The gap between these two people is too wide. Su Ming has the bystanders' vote. We can't wait for Su Ming to bring us a whole new Lin Luochen. As one of the original fans, after watching Su Ming's performance, it makes me look forward to it too. Luochen's circumstances were in fact quite unfavorable. It was exactly because he was the original actor and had a high benchmark that fans' expectations of him were naturally more demanding. Not only did he have to perform better than all the candidates, but he also had to surpass himself. After about 15 seconds, Luochen finally made some movements. He lifted his head up slowly and looked in the direction of Su Ming. There was no evil in his eyes, nor was there indifference. Instead, there was a tinge of intimacy and wistfulness. Yunhai was once his closest brother studying under the same master, but today the contrast between these two people was like heaven and earth. Yunhai was the most outstanding man in the young generation who was on a righteous path, while he was a devil people scorned. However, even though they had changed and everything else stayed the same, even though Lin Luochen had already given up on everything, when he saw Yunhai, this brother whom he had once gone through life and death with, he still treated him as an old friend. Su Ming wasn't doing anything when Luochen turned to look at him, but now, Su Ming suddenly morphed into the male lead, Yunhai, in Luochen's mind. This was a solo audition. The director hadn't arranged for anyone to act with them as the male lead. While Su Ming simply imagined the male lead to be standing there during his audition, Luochen actually spoke directly to Su Ming, treating him as Yunhai. After Luochen glanced at Su Ming, he lowered his eyes and let out a low chuckle. Huh. Luochen's young and handsome face looked as if he'd lived a lifetime. The right path? Evil path? What's right and what's evil? Luochen sighed lightly and looked at Su Ming. His clear eyes seemed to show the youth who used to ride on horses and talk about anything under the sun with him. Yunhai, you're still so naive. When Luochen reached this segment, he merely said 2 short lines that were the same 2 lines Su Ming said. Everyone knew what was going to happen next and what the lines were, but everyone there, including the audience who had been throwing insults, held their breaths with their eyes fixed on the screen, waiting for Luo Chen's next performance. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. After Luo Chen said that line, he finally stood up slowly. Step by step, he walked over to Su Ming. He stood next to his old pal, shoulder to shoulder with him, and when he lifted his gaze, it was like he was looking at a faraway galaxy. Let me tell you, history has always been written by the victors. From this day forward, this place is good if I say it's good and evil if I say it's evil. When Luo Chen said that line, it was unlike Su Ming's crazy and violent interpretation. Instead, his tone was as wispy as the clouds. It was like he was saying something very ordinary. His tone was like a clear lake that was deathly still. After he finished that line, he walked away slowly, brushing past Su Ming. This signified that a pair of brothers, who once shared the same principles and wielded swords together, had now parted ways and were taking different paths in life. After a long time, there was still silence at the scene. Even the comments on the bullet screen on the live broadcast stopped. That concludes my audition. When Luo Chen turned around, faced the production crew and took a bow, everyone came back to their senses. Song Jin Lin, who had been blank-faced throughout the evening, looked excited. He stared at Luo Chen in disbelief. Even Su Ming himself was shocked. His face looked pale. He was involved with Luo Chen's act the whole time, so he felt a more direct impact than anyone else. He was almost sucked into the act by Luo Chen and believed he really was Yun Hai. The bullet screen which stopped just now was flooded once again. Damn. Awesome. He was totally possessed by Lin Luo Chen. What do you mean possessed by Lin Luo Chen? This is Lin Luo Chen himself. I thought Su Ming's performance was perfect, but now, after watching Luo Chen's, this was truly a case of the master showing everybody how it's done. Su Ming's act was almost perfect, and I know he's very good at acting, but Luo Chen, whether or not he's good at acting, probably didn't use his skills. He was completely immersed in the storyline because he was that person in the story. He's Lin Luo Chen. This is the difference between the master himself and the other actors. Su Ming was Lin Luo Chen before, but in just a second, he was brought into the act by Luo Chen and became Yun Hai. Actually, while all of you were paying attention to Su Ming, I was watching Luo Chen and realized that he's not slow at getting into character because he was already in character all along. He didn't need to get into character at all. This is too exciting. The original is truly the original. This role isn't something that can easily be played by just anyone else. Song Jin Lin was deep in thought. The scene he chose today wasn't a random choice, but it had a deeper meaning to it. This scene looked easy, but it was actually the most important emotional plot shift in the sequel. It depicted an important break between Lin Luo Chen and the male lead. One must know that in the second series, the relationship between the supporting actor and male lead was very crucial. They were friends yet enemies. They had differing principles yet were so alike. These contradicting states were very difficult to act out. For instance, although Su Ming's performance just now wasn't bad, it was too flimsy. He simply acted out the storyline and ignored the relationship with the male lead and the link to the entire plot. In contrast, Luo Chen's acting was so intense. With just a few lines and a simple storyline, he was able to convey the entire story, and at the same time, he displayed the conflict and struggles within the character. He must have put in hard work to understand this character thoroughly. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to reach this level of skill. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. But he needed to be sure. Whether it was just sheer luck or whether Luo Chen really had this kind of skill. With this thought, Song Jin Lin said firmly, Act 13, Scene 7. Act according to your own perceptions. After Song Jin Lin said that, the audience, which was initially excited, became silent once again as they looked at the two people nervously. On the bullet screen, Su Ming's fans were unhappy and started retorting. It's not over yet. Why are all of you so worried? It could have been sheer luck just now. Exactly. Luo Chen was obviously trying to play little tricks. Su Ming had to act by himself, so obviously his results would be slightly worse, but Luo Chen used Su Ming to help him out. So scheming. Luo Chen didn't notice the reaction of the surrounding people. It was only when he heard Song Jinlin say, Act 13, Scene 7, that he felt somewhat stunned. Yiji personally taught me this act and even emphasized it. I didn't expect director Song would really pick this one. While Luo Chen was still stunned, Su Ming had already gotten into character and begun acting. Su Ming showed he had really undergone professional training. He was able to get into character very quickly once again, and he entered the next portion of the storyline. Swish. Su Ming performed the motion of drawing out his sword, then he instantly attacked the space opposite. The vicious and murderous intention in his eyes seemed tangible, like it could be transmitted through the screen to the audience. So amazing. Now this is more like Su Ming's true skill. Just his gaze alone was enough to send shivers down my spine. He acted out the bloodthirsty great devil so brilliantly. As everyone was exclaiming and praising Su Ming for his fascinating performance that was even better than his previous act, Luo Chen was making mental comparisons in his head. Su Ming's acting the scene exactly the same as I did before I was corrected by Yiji. If Yiji didn't go through this scene with me, my performance would definitely be similar to Su Ming's. Right now, Su Ming's audition won much applause, and his manager, Wu Zhengfei, was relieved as well. The assistant director and producer were both nodding their heads. However, Song Jinlin, sitting in the middle, didn't have a change in expression at all. Instead, he looked straight at Luo Chen. Luo Chen, you may begin. Su Ming naturally noticed the special attention Song Jinlin was giving Luo Chen. He took a deep breath to suppress the dissatisfaction in his heart, and he glanced coldly at Luo Chen. His teacher had guided him through this scene before, and he was very certain that his interpretation of this scene was the best. If Luo Chen's act was similar to his, Luo Chen would definitely appear weaker. Luo Chen nodded and began. He strictly followed what Yi Wanwan taught him and finished acting the scene. Luo Chen's interpretation of the role was far removed from Su Ming's aggressive and emotional act. When he pulled out his sword, his gaze was cold, detached, purposeless, and empty. There was no expression on his face, yet everyone felt a chill in their hearts. After watching Luo Chen's performance, Song Jinlin's face finally lost its calmness. He asked with slight excitement in his voice, "Why did you use this method to act out this scene? Walk me through your reasoning." Luo Chen glanced in the direction of Yi Wanwan, then considered his words carefully before responding with certainty. I think Lin Luo Chen had gone through so much injustice and torture at that point, and while his temperament did change drastically, the biggest difference between him and the old Lin Luo Chen wasn't the change in temperament but the veneration he had for life. If he revered life and considered people as humans, he would have a murderous intent, but if he viewed life like grass and dirt, then when he kills, there would only be indifference. The moment Luo Chen said his piece, Song Jinlin immediately slammed the table. Well said. Song Jinlin's eyes reddened slightly. Before teacher Lin Zong passed away, he once pulled me in to talk about this scene. At that time, he said the greatest change in Lin Luo Chen was exactly as you said just now. Luo Chen, you're pretty good. I can tell you studied this character diligently. When Song Jinlin said that, Yi Wanwan heaved a sigh of relief. She knew Luo Chen had successfully secured this role. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. For the fans of the original work, in addition to neutral observers, the mention of Lin Zong's name signified power and prestige. When Song Jinlin said that, everyone viewed Luo Chen in a different light. Amazing! He's truly the original. That's why he has a more thorough understanding of the character. He even managed to hit teacher Lin Zong's intention on the mark. Thanks to the production team for the live broadcast of the casting, allowing us to witness the return of the Lin Luo Chen in our hearts. Lin Luo Chen must be none other than Luo Chen. Seeing the crazy number of comments on the bullet screen, Wu Zhengfei's face turned green. Initially, he wanted to boost Su Ming's reputation and had even gotten someone to draft all kinds of news releases already. Who'd have known that Su Ming would actually be used as a cat's paw instead, allowing that guy to walk all over him? They even chose to broadcast the entire casting live. Now it was impossible for him to change the public's opinion or secretly bribe director Wang to change the outcome. He totally underestimated his opponent this time. After Song Jin-lin said that, he instantly stood up and personally walked over to Luo Chen. "Welcome on board, Terrifying Dragon 2. I'm very glad to be able to work with you once again." Hearing Song Jin-lin's words, Luo Chen's heart trembled slightly. He slowly extended his arm and said, "Thank you, Director Song, for giving me this opportunity." Witnessing this historical moment when the original cast members were successfully chosen for both the male lead and supporting actor, everyone cheered excitedly on the bullet screen. Su Ming had always thought highly of himself. He hadn't expected he would lose to a has-been before everyone's eyes. He immediately turned around and left. There was no point in staying. Wu Zhengfei's face darkened and he quickly followed after him. However, when he brushed past Luo Chen suddenly said icily, "Mr. Wu, did you forget something?" Yi Wanwan raised her brows slightly. She didn't think the little sheep would attack. Wu Zhengfei gritted his teeth and apologized, smiling hypocritically. "I'm really sorry, Manager Ye's tricks were indeed amazing. I was wrong about Luo Chen. But, one's reputation lasts forever and there's still a long way to go. You can't just rely on your little tricks to get by in the entertainment industry." Once he was done, he harumphed and walked away. After Yi Wanwan and the director discussed some details of the collaboration, she left the building with Luo Chen. The casting they had prepared so long for had finally come to an end, and Yi Wanwan could finally loosen up a little. Dazzling media. After they returned to the office, Yi Wanwan quickly prepared the arrangements required for Luo Chen's signing of the contract. Luo Chen's team started preparing as well. When Yi Wanwan put up a recruitment notice, she left to go to Country B at the last minute, so she only managed to recruit a single assistant. Terrifying Dragon 2 is your first show since your comeback. I think I don't have to stress the importance of this show to you. Now, I need you to do just one thing: focus on going over the script. As for the other matters, I will. Yi Wanwan was sitting in front of her desk and was speaking to Luo Chen when urgent knocks rang on the door. "Please come in." Assistant Xiao Qing looked frantic as she pushed the door open and entered. She looked at Luo Chen and Yi Wanwan anxiously and said, We're in trouble. The production crew just called us to tell us that." "What is it?" Yi Wanwan furrowed her brows. "They said they replaced the supporting actor with someone else and they won't need Luo Chen anymore." "What?" When Yi Wanwan heard that, she was stunned. Luo Chen's face gradually turned pale. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Since it was a public casting this time, it would be no use even if Wu Zhengfei found a sponsor. The production crew wouldn't take such a big risk of offending the public by replacing the supporting actor after he was already chosen. "You mentioned they found someone else. Who was it?" Yi Wanwan suppressed the suspicion in her heart and spoke calmly. The little assistant was hesitant and didn't dare to speak. Instead, she passed a piece of paper over weakly. This is the facts the production crew sent over. Yiji, please take a look at this. They'll be making the list of main actors public this afternoon." Yi Wanwan took the facts and scanned through it. In the next second, she noticed the two shocking words after the position of the supporting actor Gong Su. Gong Su. After seeing that name, Yi Wanwan knitted her brows. That's why Yi Wanwan said, who had the ability to make the production crew swap the actors even after the casting was broadcasted live. Although Gong Su, a rich second-generation kid, had a terrible reputation in the industry, he came from an extremely wealthy background and his paternal aunt was one of the founders of Country M's entertainment giants, SA Entertainment. So he wasn't just a regular rich second-generation kid, otherwise, he wouldn't still be so popular considering his level of ability. I took so long to plan and spent so much energy on this, but in the end, we've encountered such a drastic change. Yi Wanwan closed her eyes and something seemed to flash in her eyes as she pinched her brows. She was about to speak when footsteps came up to the door. Zhou Wenbin was dressed in a luxurious gray custom suit and was standing at the door casually. He shook his head and said regretfully, young man, you're still too inexperienced. As someone who's been around for a while and since we're colleagues, I really had to give manager Yi a reminder. For such a big production like Terrifying Dragon, you can't get the role simply by having some acting skills. Yi Wanwan looked coldly at Zhou Wenbin as he flaunted his power, not saying a word. Zhou Wenbin relished Yi Wanwan's look of failure for a while, then he turned to Luo Chen and said, "Little Chen, Binji taught you before that as an actor in the entertainment industry, only having skills is useless." Zhou Wenbin spoke while slowly strolling towards Luo Chen. He reached out to grasp his shoulder. "Little Chen, if you regret this now." Before Zhou Wenbin's fingers touched Luo Chen, a fair wrist firmly intercepted him. Zhou Wenbin chuckled as if he didn't mind it at all. He retracted his arm as his perverted eyes scanned the youth's body and he said faintly, "If you regret this now, there's still time. It's just that I, Zhou Wenbin, have never wanted second-hand goods, someone who's followed others, before, so if you want to come back, you better show me your sincerity, huh?" He sneered as he strolled away leisurely. After Zhou Wenbin left, there was an overwhelming dead silence. After a long time, Luo Chen tried his best to force a smile and said, "I'm fine, you've already helped me a lot. It's me. I'm useless." If Yiji chose someone else before, he wouldn't have to put in so much effort and he wouldn't be picked on by Zhou Wenbin. "Yiji, why don't you choose someone else instead?" Luo Chen was about to open his mouth, but the corners of Yi Wanwan's lips suddenly curved into a wide smile. She pressed his shoulder, forcing him to take a seat on the sofa. She then said carefully, "Sit still." "Yiji?" Luo Chen looked at Yi Wanwan blankly. Yi Wanwan stood upright and smiled. "Tisk, since they're not playing by the rules, don't blame me for taking extreme measures. Zhou Wenbin, whatever methods he used to snatch that role, I'll make him spit it back out the same way." Yi Wanwan looked at the little assistant and asked, "Where's Gong Su right now?" The little assistant replied honestly, "He's in the office. I saw him in the makeup room upstairs." Yi Wanwan straightened her lapels and strode out of the office. Luo Chen muttered as he watched Yi Wanwan's retreating figure. His eyes were filled with concern, unsure what Yi Wanwan was planning to do. Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Upstairs, in the makeup room, Gong Su leaned against a big, comfortable chair with his legs crossed and a phone in his hand. He was currently engrossed in his game while the hairstylist, makeup artist, and stylist frantically worked around him. There were two little assistants by the side. One of them held a massive coconut, standing beside him attentively. Once Gong Su moved his gear to neutral, she would have to bring the coconut over carefully and let him have a sip. The other person was standing a few steps away, busy snapping photos of him. "Suji, it's done. Please take a look to see if these are all right." The assistant brought the camera over nervously for approval. Gong Su took a quick glance and the disapproval was evident on his face. "TSK, you didn't even get a good shot of young master's stunning looks." The little assistant quickly tried to suck up to him. "How could that be, Suji? You don't have a single bad angle, you look good no matter how you're photographed." Gong Su did not care for such flattery anymore and simply picked a couple of photos impatiently. This, and this. "Send them to my phone, I'm posting them on Weibo." "Yes, right away. Don't forget to Photoshop all the pimples on my forehead." Yes. After the photos were done with, Gong Su posted them on Weibo with a sorrowful expression. He attached a photo of himself first, then smacked his lips and typed out a sentence. "It's been 3 days since I met you and I haven't received any news about you. Little Candied Plum, there's an endless sea of people. How can I find you?" The little assistant beside him leaned over and read the post. Her face darkened instantly. "Our dear artist is starting up his tricks again and asking for trouble. My heart is so tired. Fuck. Lighter. Do you know how precious a strand of young master's hair is?" Sorry. The hairstylist apologized profusely. Lately, Gong Su's mood had been exceptionally irritable and he was harder to work on. These people could only blame their bad luck. Everyone was fearfully trying to manage this little ancestor. Suddenly, there was a loud bang that came from the door, someone had kicked it open from the outside. All they saw was a young man standing at the door casually. After he swept his gaze at everyone in the room slowly, his eyes landed upon Gong Su. The man gave him a forced smile. Gong Su stared at that insolent man who dared to kick open the door of his makeup room. "Who are you?" After the little assistant next to Gong Su saw the man, she quickly whispered into Gong Su's ear, "Su, he's that Yi Bai I mentioned to you before. This guy probably knows that you snatched Luo Chen's role and is looking for trouble now." "He's Yi Bai." Gong Su raised his brows. After Yi Wanwan locked onto her target, she didn't say anything as she curled her lips and walked towards Gong Su step by step. When she got to him, she placed one foot on Gong Su's chair. A strong sense of oppression hit him in the face. Gong Su subconsciously cowered and yelled, I, what do you want? Trying to rebel? Yi Bai, what are you doing?" The two assistants panicked as well. They berated her while shouting towards the door, "Security! Where's security?" Yi Wanwan tapped a photo in her phone leisurely and placed it right in front of Gong Su, letting him take a look. The moment Gong Su, who was still yelling, saw that photo, he was completely stunned. "Damn! Isn't this my little Candied Plum? Why would this chap have a photo of my little Candied Plum? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon." When Gong Su was tempted to continue looking at the photo, Yi Wanwan quickly retracted the phone and said, "Look at me." Gong Su looked at Yi Wanwan instinctively. This one glance made him continue to stare in a daze. Do I look like her?" Yi Wanwan lowered her voice and asked by his ear. Gong Su stared at the man's face and nodded repeatedly. At first sight, he didn't notice it because their temperaments were too different, but taking a closer look, why did he find that this man looked so similar to his little Candied Plum? "The person in the photo is my little sister," Yi Wanwan said. The moment the man said that, Gong Su's eyes widened in complete disbelief. What? The little Candied Plum I've been looking for and went almost crazy for the past 2 days is actually this guy's younger sister? For a split second, Gong Su stared at Yi Wanwan as if he was looking at the god of sun, Apollo, glistening and shining, wishing he could worship her. Within the few seconds of conversation Yi Wanwan and Gong Su had, Gong Su was the only one who saw the photograph. Now came a herd of hurried footsteps. The staff rushed over with a couple security guards. The tall and bulky bodyguards asked aggressively, "Who's causing trouble here?" The little assistant by the side pointed at Yi Wanwan and said, "It's this guy here, he's causing trouble and tried to hurt someone. Chase him away right now." They couldn't take it if a single strand of hair was damaged on Gong Su's scalp. When those bodyguards heard that, they immediately charged towards Yi Wanwan. However, before anyone could get near her, Gong Su's expression turned icy instantly. He slammed the table and shouted, "Get lost! I'll deal with whoever dares to touch him." Seeing Gong Su's reaction, the two little assistants and staff were taken aback. The bodyguards looked at each other, confused and not daring to move. The little assistant quickly got closer to Gong Su and asked cautiously, Su, what is it? This insolent guy here offended you just now, right?" Gong Su immediately roared at him, "Offended your grandfather? Who said you could shout at my—" The little assistant's face was covered in his spit and she was completely stunned. "Huh?" Gong Su ignored his assistant. He stood up and pulled out the chair he was just sitting on. He looked at Yi Wanwan and lavished her with praise. "Yi, take a seat." Seeing how Gong Su made a complete 180, everyone in the room looked at each other, confused and dumbstruck. They had no idea what was going on. The other little assistant said in a daze, "Su, this is?" Gong Su turned his head and started scolding them, "Is your head? Hurry, go get tea for Yi. Can you be on your toes? And you, go get a coconut for Yiji right now." Both the assistants, what on earth happened? Why did our great young master, second-generation ancestor, suddenly become so polite and respectful towards Yi Bai? Although they didn't fully understand the situation, They didn't dare go against Gong Su's orders, so one of them quickly went to get tea while the other rushed to prepare a coconut. Gong Su personally took the big coconut, placed a straw in it and held it close to Yi Wanwan. Have a drink, have a drink. Yi Wanwan forced a smile and looked suspiciously at the man with that beautiful, dazzling and handsome face. Then she supported her forehead with one hand and said faintly, I heard that young Master Gong intends to act in Terrifying Dragon 2? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. When Gong Su heard that, his face froze and he suddenly remembered he just snatched the role of Lin Luochen from Yi Bai. When he thought about how he already offended his future brother-in-law before he even found little Candied Plum, beads of cold sweat started trickling down Gong Su's forehead. After pondering it for a short while, Gong Su said without hesitation, Terrifying Dragon 2? Who said that? I'm acting in Terrifying Dragon 2. How come I don't know anything about that? That's definitely not a thing. Oh, is that so? Yi Wanwan laughed. She brought out the facts sheet the little assistant gave her. Gong Su glanced at the list of artists and immediately gnashed his teeth, wishing he could drag Zhou Wenbin out for a beating. If Zhou Wenbin hadn't kept nagging him, why would he court death by snatching the role of an artist under Yi Bai? He wouldn't have dared to offend little Candied Plum's older brother otherwise. Afraid that this incident would cause the distance between him and little Candied Plum to widen, Gong Su made up his mind and said, This was a misunderstanding. This must have been a misunderstanding. Why would I possibly take on a role as a supporting actor when the original cast was fine? After speaking, he turned his head immediately to look at his assistants. Both of you, what's going on exactly? Who allowed you to get me this role without authorization? The two assistants were completely lost. After they looked at each other, one of them replied, Su, wasn't this role the one you? Wasn't this the role he insisted on taking? He even said he would crush Yi Bai for coming over. Why is he acting like he has amnesia now? The assistant didn't get a chance to finish speaking when Gong Su anxiously interrupted, Shut up. How dare you deny it? You're so gutsy that you dared to make decisions behind my back without authorization? Call Zhou Wenbin over right now. The assistant didn't have a choice. In a situation like this, he really couldn't handle it. So, he dashed out quickly to look for Zhou Wenbin. Everyone else in the makeup room couldn't follow these developments either, and they all stood there in a daze. After the little assistant left to find Zhou Wenbin, Gong Su kept blinking his peach blossom eyes which glistened like water. He looked at Yi Wanwan miserably. It was truly a misunderstanding. Why would I possibly steal the role of an artist under you? Yi Wanwan took a sip of her tea. She smiled plainly and did not expose him. In the office on the second level, Zhou Wenbin was in a pleasant mood, wiping his precious antiques in the office while taking a call. Yi Bai got the role of Lin Luochen? Who told you that? He's just a newbie, you think too highly of him. This role is in my hands now. Why, you don't believe me? So what if the casting was broadcasted publicly? You think that having a public casting means the role belongs to him? Zhou Wenbin was chatting on the phone with his friend when Gong Su's assistant suddenly pushed the door open and entered hastily. Director Zhou. Despite seeing how flustered the little assistant was, Zhou Wenbin was unconcerned since he was in a good mood. He glanced at the assistant and said, Why were you so flustered? The little assistant wasn't completely sure about the situation, so he didn't dare speak irresponsibly. He could only put on a bitter expression and say, Sudi wants you to go over for a while? But the great young master is throwing his tantrums again? Zhou Wenbin was already used to this and didn't pay much attention to it. He stood up and said, Let's go, I'll take a look. Shortly after, Zhou Wenbin followed the assistant and reached Gong Su's makeup room. Gong Su, what's the matter? Who made you angry this time? Zhou Wenbin spoke kindly while walking in, but the moment he lifted his gaze, he actually noticed that aside from Gong Su, Yi Bai was in the room as well. He was shocked for a moment, then revealed a mocking expression. This Yi Bai guy really knows how to create his own path to destruction. He actually dared to run here to directly interrogate Gong Su? Liked it? Take a second to support novels on Patreon. Chapter 471. Get someone else to do it. Gong Su's expression implied that he would bite whoever dared to ruin his reputation in front of his future brother-in-law. Seeing as Gong Su was telling a bare-faced lie, Zhou Wenbin's face was as black as the underside of a pot, but he could only force himself to say, How could that be? Of course not. Only then was Gong Su satisfied as he sneered. So, on the surface you obeyed orders, but you secretly took matters into your own hands behind my back. You made this mess, so you have to fix this yourself. You call the production team right now to clear things up. I will never take this role. How could he refuse the role that's already in his hands and present it to Luo Qin personally? When Zhou Wenbin heard that, his face turned ugly. He suppressed the darkness in his eyes, walked over to Gong Su's side and coaxed him nicely. Gong Su, the production team has already selected you for this role and will be making it public soon. Suddenly saying that you don't want to act anymore, it's really hard for my side to explain this to the production team. We definitely can't back out now. Zhou Wenbin obviously wouldn't give up on the role so easily. How could Yi Wanwan not know what Zhou Wenbin was thinking about? She smiled and said, Director Zhou's really humble. I just discussed the collaboration with the production team, and when I returned to the office, I was informed about the change of actor for the supporting role. I'm sure everyone knows how efficient you are, Director Zhou. Zhou Wenbin was frustrated and immediately lashed out at Yi Bai. I was speaking to Gong Su. Who are you to interrupt? Who do you think you are? The moment Zhou Wenbin spoke, Gong Su slammed the table and roared, Zhou Wenbin! Is this how you speak to Yiji? Yiji? When Zhou Wenbin heard how Gong Su addressed Yi Bai, his eyes opened wide in utter disbelief. Gong Su actually called Yi Bai Yiji? What exactly is going on here? Gong Su stroked his fringe as the noble and haughty aura around him suddenly dissipated. TSK, you can't change it? Sure. If you can't do it, why don't I get someone else to do it? When Zhou Wenbin heard him, it was as if his pressure points were struck and his face turned completely white. This brainless great young master, Gong Su, is easy to talk to when he's in a good mood, but when his temper rises, there's nothing he won't do. If he gets so mad that he wants a change in manager, it's all over. Zhou Wenbin couldn't afford to worry about Yi Bai anymore. He made a prompt decision and said, Gong Su, this incident was truly my fault for not thinking things through carefully. I should have discussed with you before making any decisions. I'll clear things up with the production crew immediately and will definitely clear up this mess. Zhou Wenbin walked to a corner after speaking and called the production crew to try to clear up the mess. He was completely distraught. The production team was already prepared to go public with the list of cast members when Zhou Wenbin called them all of a sudden to tell them that Gong Su didn't want to be part of the production anymore. Obviously, their attitudes were sour and Zhou Wenbin could only hold in his temper and explain, stubbornly declining the role that was already in their possession. It was chaotic in the makeup room as there was quite a number of artists and staff crowded outside. Seeing that Zhou Wenbin had been scolded so badly by Gong Su, everyone started whispering and gossiping. After Zhou Wenbin made the call, he wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and walked towards Gong Su with residual fear. Gong Su, I already made things clear with the production team according to your instructions. Chapter 472. Just take me in. Yi Wanwan forced a smile and looked into the man's eyes that were as sparkly as the stars. Young Master Gong is too polite. There's no need for the treat. When Gong Su heard that, he instantly panicked and felt he had definitely left a bad impression on Yi Bai due to his snatching of the role. He was afraid Yi Bai would never let him near his sister. How can I simply let this go? I put in so much effort just to find my little Candied Plum. I have to quickly get into Yi Bai's good books. But how do I do that? Gong Su felt like he was on the hot seat, but his eyes suddenly lit up and he seemed to have thought of something. Gong Su put on an experienced and jaded expression. Acting helpless, he sighed and said, my reputation in the industry has been bad all these years, all because I was matched to irresponsible managers. I've suffered so badly under them. That's why I really admire Luochen. He has a manager like Yi who's so responsible and has good foresight, not to mention being very good-looking. Yi, I won't hide it from you. From the very first day you stepped into the company, I knew you were no ordinary person. With so many artists in the company, why else would you pick Luochen, someone with so much potential? Before, you mentioned that unless Zhou Wenbin exchanged me for Luochen, you wouldn't consider giving Luochen up. This really made me feel extremely honored. Yi Wanwen, watching Gong Su, this great young master with an ego higher than the sky, trying to win over Yi by so eloquently with a deluge of heavenly flowers, Zhou Wenbin's expression looked as if he had just seen a ghost. Darn it! What's with Gong Su today? Is he possessed? When Gong Su was done currying favor, he asked, Yi, I know my skills are weak, but I have a heart that's willing to work diligently to improve. I'm just lacking a talent scout like Yi Ji who's so good at teaching. So, Yi, could you please take me in? When Zhou Wenbin saw Gong Su currying favor with Yi Wanwen, his face was just gloomy, but the moment he heard this, his pupils constricted. The corners of Yi Wanwen's lips twitched. Take you in? Gong Su nodded like a chicken pecking at grains. And Yi Ji, I really want to work with you. Please be my manager, alright? Yi Wanwen. To any other artist, having a change in manager was an extremely important matter, but coming from Gong Su's mouth, it sounded like he was just changing his watch or phone. The second Gong Su said he wanted a change in manager, all the assistants and staff in the makeup room, including all the onlookers at the door, were so shocked that their chins dropped to the floor. Damn, what did we just hear? Gong Su actually wants a new manager and even took the initiative to ask to work under Yi Bai. Zhou Wenbin's face was terribly pale. His face suddenly changed as he turned to Gong Su. Gong Su, you want a change of manager? How could you do this? Gong Su raised his brows. His eyes were suddenly filled with arrogance and defiance as he said, What? Must I go through your approval just for a change of manager? Who do you think you are? Every one of his previous managers was changed just by a single word from him. Even if Chu Hongguang was here, he couldn't control which manager Gong Su worked with. Gong Su didn't bother with Zhou Wenbin. Instead, he moved closer to Yi Wanwen in an obedient and adorable manner. Yi Ji, is that all right? Is that all right? Please take me in. I promise I'll listen to you obediently. I'll listen to everything you say. Chapter 473. A double-edged sword. This guy had an outrageously good-looking face, and when he acted pitifully, he was simply too attractive, causing people to forgive him for everything and giving in to any requests he had. If his fans saw him like this, their screams would probably break through the clouds. However, Yi Wanwen didn't believe a single word of Gong Su's promises. With regards to the glorious deeds of Gong Su, she knew them very well. Gong Su will listen obediently to his manager? This could potentially be the greatest lie of the year in the entertainment industry. The moment Gong Su said that, everyone's gazes landed on Yi Wanwen, awaiting her response. Zhou Wenbin stared at Yi Wanwen with a gaze that looked as if he wanted to burn her alive. Gong Su, did this guy say something to you? This guy's very treacherous and cunning, don't be fooled by him. Gong Su was afraid Mr. Yi would be angered, so to de-escalate the situation, he quickly yelled, Zhou Wenbin, why are you? At this moment, a man's clear voice resounded, all right. Following Yi Wanwen's, all right, there was a pin-drop silence in the makeup room. Gong Su was speechless. He was stunned at first, like he was in disbelief, then both his eyes suddenly sparkled. He turned to Yi Wanwen excitedly. Yiji, you agreed? You're willing to take me in? Why not? My goal is to protect the Yi family and Emperor Sky Entertainment. With my current progress, I'm still too far from my goal. Even if Luochen becomes famous from this show, I'll still be trampled by Zhou Wenbin, and if I want to solidify my power, I still have a long way to go. If I take in Gong Su, that would be a great help to me. I know Gong Su's a double-edged sword, extremely hard to control. But so what? In the entertainment industry, there are all kinds of risks and gambles. There's no reason why I should decline such a great opportunity. Yi Wanwen said leisurely, I only have Luo Chen under me right now, and today he's on the right track, so there's no harm in taking on another artist. It's just that. As Yi Wanwan spoke, she looked over at Zhou Wenbin with a meaningful glance. Seeing that, Gong Su said, Yi Ji, as long as you agree, there won't be any problems. Don't worry about any other issues, I'll settle them. Gong Su turned towards Zhou Wenbin the moment he finished his sentence and said eagerly, Why were you still standing there? Didn't you see that Yi Ji has agreed? Go bring my contract over right now. Zhou Wenbin didn't expect this at all. Yi Bai was beaten down by him to the point where he couldn't even fight back just a moment ago, but now there was a complete turn of events, and not only was he forced to return the role to Yi Bai, but even Gong Su was leaving with him. The craziest thing was that until now, he still didn't understand what exactly happened and why there was such a sudden change in Gong Su's attitude. No way. There's no way. It was so hard for me to grab onto this money tree. 1. Gong Su, how can I just simply let him go? Zhou Wenbin wept and wailed on the spot. Gong Su, I've been with you for 3 entire years and was totally devoted to you. Even if I haven't done any good deeds, I've put in a lot of hard work. You actually tossed me away all for this scheming young guy? At this moment, there were more and more onlookers. Everyone watching was part of the internal staff, and they all knew Zhou Wenbin's character. Watching Zhou Wenbin's act, everybody felt sick to their stomachs. 1. A source of easy money. Gong Su's peach blossom eyes flickered, urging Yi Wanwan. His head was filled with beautiful pink fantasies. My little Candied Plum. I'll be able to take advantage of my job and use my tricks to find out about little Candied Plum or ask for her phone number or something. Yi Wanwan was a little speechless by that scorching stare, but she still took the contract and signed her name. When Zhou Wenbin witnessed Yi Wanwan signing her name, it was as if he lost his soul. His face turned ashen and he looked lifeless. Gong Su held up the new contract with both hands like it was his baby, and he looked as if he wanted to turn into a butterfly and fly around the room. From today onwards, I belong to you. Chapter 475. There's a chance. Gong Su asked Yi Wanwan in private. You see, now that we've established such a close relationship, can we? Yi Wanwan gave Gong Su a sidelong glance and stood up slowly from the chair. Depends on your performance. Even though Gong Su was somewhat disappointed, his spirits rose very quickly. Brother-in-law wants to observe me. This means there's a chance. With that thought, Gong Su felt suddenly invigorated. Yiji, don't worry. I'll definitely perform well. Seeing this vain, great young master acting like an ambitious youth, Yi Wanwan couldn't help but burst out in laughter. I really look forward to your performance. The upward curvature of his lips spread like a ripple towards Gong Su's heart. In Gong Su's eyes, this smile was an exact replica of that girl who gave him those candied plums. Gong Su stood rooted to the ground in a daze. He was dazzled and the tips of his ears started burning. Is it because they're siblings? In that split second just now, the two of them looked so alike. Zhou Wenbin wasn't sure how he returned to his own office. It hadn't been long since he returned to his luxurious office. Before he could come to his senses, his phone started ringing. Seeing that it was Chu Hongguang, an ominous premonition instantly arose in his heart. Hello, Chairman Chu. On the other end of the call, Chu Hongguang sighed. Wenbin, you've been with the company for such a long time. Why can't you hold a single person back? Zhou Wenbin replied anxiously, Chairman Chu, I have no animosity towards Gong Su at all. That young guy, Yi Bai, must have played some dirty tricks under the table. All right. Gong Su's gone over to Yi Bai's side already, so this is the end of it. I have another issue I want to discuss right now. Chu Hongguang's tone became stern and cold. Another issue? Zhou Wenbin asked hesitantly. Chu Hongguang said in a deep voice, I just emailed you. Go take a look for yourself. Zhou Wenbin hurriedly turned on his computer and opened the latest email from Chu Hongguang. When he saw the contents of the email, the last tinge of color on Zhou Wenbin's face disappeared. Chairman Chu, I can explain. Chu Hongguang reprimanded him on the spot. Explain? A few artists under your care jointly reported you for collecting private bribes and violating the interests of the company. There is solid proof. What's there to explain? It's not like that, Chairman Chu. You know, a lot of resources and money are needed to groom an artist. I collected the bribes so I could better. Don't try to deny it. All I need to know is that you collected bribes. Seeing as you're a senior manager in the company, as long as you return the bribes you collected, the company will not take legal action against you. Chairman Chu. Without waiting for Zhou Wenbin to speak, Chu Hongguang hung up. Zhou Wenbin stared at the phone with a pale face. His body trembled and he slumped into the chair behind him. It's over. This time, it's completely over for me. In Yi Wanwan's office. Ever since Yi Wanwan suddenly left the office, Luo Chen had been sitting on the sofa in a daze without moving. Unsure how much time passed, a pair of urgent footsteps appeared before the door was pushed open by someone. The little assistant stood at the door, surprised to see Luo Chen inside. Luo Chen, why were you still here? Luo Chen lowered his head like he had lost all the light in him and said in a hoarse voice, Xiao Qing, I want to return to Zhou Wenbin. Huh? What did you say? Xiao Qing's eyes widened. Luo Chen balled his fists so tightly that they turned white. The redness in his eyes was the result of his internal struggle as he declared firmly, I don't want to drag you down anymore. Xiao Qing was stunned and quickly said, Luo Chen, you don't know about Zhou Wenbin yet. He's already been fired by the company. Luo Chen seemed like he didn't comprehend what Xiao Qing said as he replied in a state of shock. What did you say? Zhou Wenbin's fired? How is that possible? Xiao Qing immediately told Luo Chen everything that happened upstairs in the makeup room. Luo Chen was completely dumbfounded. His eyes, which were dull and lifeless at first, were now filled with disbelief. Chapter 476. You already have me. While Luo Chen was still listening in a daze, two new footsteps approached the door. It was Yi Bai returning to the office, and following behind him was Gongsu. Gongsu had just gotten his makeup done. His entire being was dazzling with brilliance, and the office brightened up the second he walked in. Hi, Gongsu. Xiao Qing exclaimed in surprise. Wherever Gongsu went, the stars would twinkle around him along with numerous bodyguards surrounding him. Even though they worked in the same company, the little assistant had never seen Gongsu in such close proximity. Now that she had met him, she was so excited that she nearly fainted. Hello, little sweetheart, pleased to meet you. We're a family now. When Gongsu saw her reaction, he became cockier, revealing faintly discernible little canine teeth when he smiled, causing the little assistant to go crazy. Yi Wanwan coughed lightly and glanced at Gongsu helplessly, indicating to him that he should probably stop. Gongsu then exercised a little restraint. He turned to Luo Chen, who was still sitting at the side in a daze, and raised his brows. Yi, this is the guy under your care, Luo Chen? Yi Wanwan nodded, then turned to Luo Chen and said gently, Luo Chen, Gongsu just signed on to work under me. Say hello. Gongsu was sitting on the sofa casually. When he saw that Yi Wanwan spoke in a much gentler tone towards Luo Chen, there was an inexplicable uneasiness in his heart. He rubbed his chin and curled his lips. Yiji, you have me now, so why do you still need this guy? Why don't you just focus on grooming me alone in the future? Hearing that, Luo Chen, who was about to greet Gongsu, froze. Yi Wanwan's face darkened as well. I really underestimated this Gongsu. He just started working with me and now his true nature's beginning to show. Yi Wanwan immediately shot a look of warning towards Gongsu. If you want to continue working with me, don't let me hear something like that ever again. Gongsu saw Yi Wanwan was angered, so he swiftly brought out his signature smile. Don't be mad, I was just joking. Luo Chen still didn't look too pleased and his face turned dull as well. Yi, let's go have a meal together later. Consider it a celebration of me joining the team. Gongsu suggested unabashedly. Yi Wanwan was tidying up some work from Gongsu's transfer as she replied, Another day. I have to deal with some paperwork first. You're busy in the evening? Gong Su asked. Yi Wanwan answered without even looking up, I made plans this evening. What plans? Gong Su asked again, unwilling to give up. A date with my girlfriend, Yi Wanwan replied. Oh, this finally shut Gong Su up. His expression was as listless as a child who was refused his candy. A few hours went by in a flash and the sky started to turn dark. Yi Wanwan saw that it was almost time to go, so she quickly packed up her things then rushed out of the company building. From entering dazzling by solving Han Xianyu's crisis to signing Luo Chen then successfully helping Luo Chen get the supporting role in the Terrifying Dragon sequel and today, surprisingly managing to topple Zhou Wenbin, this greatest enemy of hers, and even signing Gong Su, she had come a long way. After being reborn, she put in so much effort and hard work for so long and things were finally moving in the right direction. At this very moment, she really wanted to share this news with someone. In this split second, the first person that popped into her head was unexpectedly that lonely figure in the night wind. Chapter 477. Darling, praise me. The evening wind blew gently and the little garden was filled with the scent of cabbages, citron daylilies and sunflowers. Next to the round table under the shade of the tree, Si Han held a cup of ginseng tea as a sleek white tiger laid next to his feet. At this moment, there was another person sitting at the round table. His features looked somewhat similar to Si Han's and he was wearing a white vintage suit with gold trimmings. He had aristocratic mannerisms and was overcome with boredom as he propped up his head with his hand and complained, Why is ninth aunt still not back yet? What's the matter? Si Han asked coldly. I was looking for ninth aunt, not you. Si Xia's eyes lit up and he asked, Oh right, I heard that. Ninth aunt recently signed a new artist and he's the leading star in the company, a current popular teen idol. I really couldn't tell that ninth aunt is quite capable. When Si Han heard that, his only reaction was to pause as he held the cup in midair. It was almost impossible to detect any emotions in his eyes. Seeing that Si Han didn't react, Si Xia was unsatisfied. He asked softly, Oh, I didn't expect that ninth uncle would actually be so trusting to allow ninth aunt to leave and even allow her to recruit one male artist after another. Aren't you afraid of wearing a green hat? There are so many teen idols in the entertainment industry, it's simply tempting to the eyes. Also, ninth aunt is so young, so naturally she would prefer guys around her age. Ninth uncle, you better not be too confident. Si Han didn't react but when Su Yi, who was at the side, heard this, his expression immediately turned ugly. This young master Si Xia simply wants the world to burn. Master and Miss Wanwan's relationship just improved slightly, but now Si Xia showed up and started spouting nonsense in front of Master. Is he here to visit the sick or to agitate someone? With Master's current condition, how can he withstand this taunting? Su Yi was helpless since he couldn't disclose the nature of Si Han's real illness and he could only say, Young Master Si Xia, you're mistaken. Miss Wanwan disguises as a man. When Si Xia heard that he scoffed lightly, so what? When the time comes, she might bring home both men and women. Si Xia continued on like he hadn't noticed Si Han's face gradually turning cold and becoming menacing. For instance, who's that artist ninth aunt recently recruited? Oh yes, that flirtatious prince from the Gong family. I heard he doesn't discriminate between guys and girls. Su Yi couldn't tolerate Si Xia's ridiculous remarks anymore. As he was just about to cut Si Xia off, a set of rapid footsteps came from behind him. Su Yi turned around instinctively towards the direction of the sound. Following that, the three people saw a pink figure running towards them like a gust of wind. The girl ignored the presence of everyone except Si Han and ran directly into his arms. Si Han caught the girl colliding into him in a flash and at the same time, the ginseng tea in his hand jerked violently, almost spilling onto the girl. Si Han frowned. He was about to speak, but in the next second he felt something soft on his cool lips. Yi Wanwan pounced over, lowered her head immediately and kissed him on his lips swiftly. As she had just run over, she was a little out of breath and her chest was moving up and down quickly. Her eyes glistened like the stars in the galaxy and were filled with life and vigor as she said, "Darling, I'm back. Did you miss me?" The cloud of gloominess around Si-han that arose from Si-xia's comments immediately dissipated the moment she crashed into his arms. Yi Wanwan's bright eyes focused on him. Her face eagerly sought praise as she said, "Quick, praise me. I've been promoted. And I also recruited another artist. Am I awesome or what?" Si-han placed his cup down and held her in his lap, then praised her very obediently, "And not bad." Su-yi, who was worried to death his master would be angry, the little young Master Si who thought he had finally been successful in his taunting but who lost his chance before he could rejoice. Chapter 478. Obviously we're going on a date. At this moment, out of the corner of her eyes, she saw a velvety white cloud laying next to Si-han's feet. "Great white!" Yi Wanwan exclaimed, "Ow!" then got off Si-han's lap. She turned towards the white tiger and pounced on it instantly. Through all her perseverance, pestering, she was now able to get within a one-step radius to Great White and even run her hand along the hairs at the edge of the tiger's body. Si-xia witnessed how Yi Wanwan pacified that great devil and in the next second, extended her evil hand towards slaughter without getting bitten. For a moment, it felt like he was in a dream. Is this person still the ruthless and reckless Si-han who doesn't tolerate the least bit of sand in his eyes? And is this still the slaughter who hates strangers and would tear a person to shreds whenever it wants? Fuck! Si-xia couldn't help but let out a curse softly. Only then did Yi Wanwan lift her head and look over at the person by the side. She said, surprised, Si-xia? Why were you here too? Si-xia's stunning face immediately broke into pieces when he heard that. I was here all along, alright? Are you here to visit your ninth uncle? Yi Wanwan blinked as she asked. Is there a problem? Si-xia replied grumpily. Yi Wanwan immediately asked again, Oh, are you done visiting then? Understanding the meaning behind Yi Wanwan's words that she wanted him to leave, Si-xia's face darkened. Yi Wanwan, what do you mean? Yi Wanwan smiled. I mean, if you're done, why don't you hurry back home because I'm going out with your ninth uncle. Si-xia furrowed his brows. Going out? It's so late. Why you guys going out? Yi Wanwan, obviously we're going on a date. Si-xia was so mad that his heart hurt. I rushed here right after I returned from Shun City. I haven't even had a proper meal and now you're chasing me away. Is this how elders should act? Yi Wanwan felt a little guilty and she muttered, I didn't say we weren't letting you eat. I'm going on a date with your ninth uncle, so you can stay and have your meal here. I'll get the kitchen to prepare one for you. They'll prepare whatever you want to eat. Si-xia, what? Yi Wanwan was roared at by the little devil till her eardrums were sore. Then what do you want, huh? Si-xia took a deep breath then said, I want you guys to either stay put or take me with you. Yi Wanwan turned her head to look at Si-han. Baby, do you mind having a light bulb? The kind that's around 500 watts? Si-han, anything goes. Si-xia. Thus, a date between two people became a date with three people just like that. Half an hour later, the car stopped at a mall. Yi Wanwan had planned to bring Si-han to a very popular restaurant. Before Si-xia left the house, he insisted on getting someone to prepare a casual outfit for him to change into. So now, he was wearing a pair of jeans, sneakers and a pink t-shirt, looking very youthful and vibrant. The three of them together was simply too eye-catching and attracted a lot of stares the moment they stepped out of the car. When they reached the entrance, the restaurant was extremely packed as usual. There were many tables outside and there were many customers waiting in line. A young salesgirl was holding a poster and telling customers that there was a couple promotion at the restaurant. Si-xia glanced at Yi Wanwan's pink dress and the corners of his lips curved upwards. Then he stood next to Yi Wanwan and asked with intention, Ninth aunt, do we look like a couple? Si-xia and Yi Wanwan were around the same age, and now they were dressed in the same color. They could indeed be easily mistaken for a couple. This troublemaker. Yi Wanwan panicked and looked at Si-han, then she clenched her teeth and hugged Si-han's arm, beaming. Hee hee, Don't we look like Daddy and Mommy bringing our son out? Si Xia's cheeky grin cracked in a split second. What? Go to hell. Chapter 479. Ninth uncle in love. Seeing Si Xia so agitated, Yuan very kindly placated him. All right, it's Daddy and Mommy bringing a very handsome son out. Is that okay? Are you happier now? Single. But. Si Xia buried his head on the little table and didn't want to speak anymore. Beside him, Si Han sat there in silence, looking at the girl with a crafty fox grin on her face. The iciness in his cold eyes melted away and a faint smile appeared like a light wind blowing across a lake's surface, causing layer upon layer of ripples. Ever since he was severely injured, his temper became more violent and unpredictable. It was as if a roaring, havoc-wrecking wild beast was living inside his body that even he was unable to control, and he could only watch as his own thoughts and consciousness became dominated and corroded, bit by bit. However, those irritable moods became increasingly calmer and he almost couldn't recall when he last raged and lost control. Yuan looked at the waitress by the side and inquired, "Hello, may I know roughly how much longer we have to wait?" The waitress looked at their number and replied, "At this time, it's the peak hour, so it will take longer to get a table. You will probably have to wait another hour and a half." "What? That's long." Si Xia immediately stood up. Yuan gave him side-eye. "My great young master, all the restaurants with slightly better business would require us to wait. Can you stop making a fuss? When do I ever go out without having servants all around me or VIP seating? Now I actually have to squeeze in with so many people and wait in line for so long." Si Xia frowned. "Why should we waste our time in line? We should have just gotten Su Yi to arrange things." Yuan rolled her eyes at him. "Little child who doesn't know what fun is, keep your mouth shut." If she merely wanted to have a meal with Si Han, she could have made reservations at a high-class restaurant, finished eating and left right away. Why would she go through this hassle? But what's the point of going on those kinds of dates? This guy, Si Han, was too otherworldly. This would be the perfect opportunity for him to experience the life of an ordinary human. At this moment, from the corners of her eyes, Yuan saw the waitress holding something in her hand and she asked excitedly, "Is that paper for folding lucky stars?" The waitress quickly brought out a few stacks of shiny long strips of paper and said, "Yup, these are meant for folding lucky stars. Our restaurant is having a promotion. Customers that fold 150 little stars will be entitled to a $30 dining voucher. Do the three of you want to give it a try since there's still quite a long wait? What a great deal. We can even get a discount." This was probably a little idea the restaurant came up with in order to retain customers and keep them occupied while waiting. Sure. Give them to me." Yuan immediately took them. After speaking, she turned to Si Xia. "What are you sitting there for? Quickly help fold some stars. We'll be able to get a discount of $30. Si Xia stared at her in disbelief. "Are you kidding me? For $30, she wants me to waste my time folding these?" Then, a low voice came from beside Yuan. Si Han's long and slender fingers took a pink strip as he said, "How do I fold it?" "I'll teach you. It's very easy. Just watch how I do it, you'll definitely pick it up." Yuan moved closer to Si Han and guided him step by step. "Got it?" Yuan asked after she folded a star. Si Han's fingers moved swiftly and very soon, a little star even more perfect than the one Yuan folded appeared in his palm. "Like this?" Yes. Baby, you're amazing." Yuan gave Si Han a kiss on the cheek. Si Xia looked at his cold and revered ninth uncle dressed in an expensive custom-made suit folding little stars at the moment. Do people in love have mental problems? Chapter 480. Can't bear it. She passed a stack of blue strips of paper over. Si Xia looked at the bright strips of paper in Yuan's hands, took a deep breath and accepted them reluctantly. "What exactly am I here for?" The one who folded stars the nicest was Si Han. Each star had a perfect point like it was an art piece. His stars were followed by Yi Wanwan's, which were average, and the worst were Si Xia's loose and flimsy, ugly and out-of-shape stars. Si Han used pink strips, Si Xia used blue, and Yi Wanwan used yellow. The three of them split up the work, and after they were done folding 150 stars, Yi Wanwan immediately called the waitress over happily. "We're done. Miss, you guys folded them really nicely." The waitress looked at the pink and yellow bags of stars and couldn't help but compliment them. However, when she saw Si Xia's bag, her face twitched a little. Yi Wanwan couldn't stand it as well. The stars in the blue bag were folded quite badly. Can they even be used? Si Xia was massaging his aching fingers, but when he heard Yi Wanwan's comment, his face darkened. "She actually insulted the stars I folded." The waitress coughed lightly and said, "No problem, they can all be used as long as the quantity is enough." Hearing the waitress say that, Si Xia didn't look so glum anymore. He painstakingly folded so many stars, and if they couldn't even be used, he might really tear down this restaurant. The waitress then took away the 3 bags of little stars, but Yi Wanwan hesitated and stopped her. Wait. "Miss, is there anything else?" the waitress asked. Yi Wanwan thought for a while, then said, 150 stars for $30, so it means 50 stars can be exchanged for $10? "That's right." "Oh, then." Yi Wanwan kept Si Han's bag of pink little stars, looked at the waitress and said, "We won't exchange this bag then. We'll use just those 2 bags in exchange for $20. "Sure." The waitress kept the other 2 bags of little stars. After the waitress left, Si Han turned to Yi Wanwan. "Why aren't you exchanging this bag?" Yi Wanwan held up the bag of little pink stars, and her smile blossomed like a flower. This bag of little stars was personally folded by the CEO of C Corporation, master of the C family, right? Of course I can't bear to sell them. I want to keep them as a souvenir. Little stars folded by the Great Devil are simply too rare, huh? Si Xia, how could you exchange mine just like that? When it was finally their turn to sit, Si Xia was almost dying from the abuse. The restaurant was packed. There was a deliciously fragrant scent of food in the air, fresh flowers on the table, and someone playing the violin in the middle of the restaurant. The atmosphere was lovely. Currently, there were also a female host and a pair of lovers on stage who appeared like they were playing a game. Yi Wanwan finished ordering the dishes very quickly, and while they were waiting for the food, she rubbed her chin and looked at the stage. "What game is this?" The waitress who was filling their cups explained. "This game is called telepathy. It goes like this. The host will use a computer to randomly select 10 groups of objects. Each group will contain 2 objects and will be shown on the big screen. The girl will choose one of the 2 objects, then the guy will have to guess which object the girl chose. There will be a total of 10 chances and a total score of 10 points. The couple with the highest score tonight will receive a prize." Chapter 481. "I want to play and you have to go with me." Si Xia glanced at the stage unenthusiastically. "Boring." Yi Wanwan didn't bother with Si Xia. She turned to the waitress and asked, "What's the prize?" The waitress responded, "The customers with the highest score will receive a laptop, and if there's a tie, we'll have a face-off. Couples don't usually get a perfect score for a game like this even if they know each other very well. The highest score on record in our restaurant is 8 points, so we have a rule: if a couple can get a perfect score, they'll receive a grand prize." "What's the grand prize?" Yi Wanwan asked instantly. Waitress, $30,000 in cash. They're actually giving out straight cash? This is right up my alley. Yi Wanwan was excited the moment she heard that and really wanted to give it a go. However, this thought went by in a flash. Si Han didn't like showing his face in public. Making him fold those little stars could be considered acceptable, fun even, but pulling him up on stage to play this childish game would be stepping over the boundaries. "Miss, you guys can go up there and try your luck," the waitress prompted. "Thanks, but it's fine, I'm not that lucky." Yi Wanwan smiled. Then Si Xia, who was bored to death, suddenly asked, "Hey, do we have to be lovers to play?" The waitress said, "Our restaurant planned some special activities for lovers today, but since you guys came too late, those exclusive games for lovers already ended. This program now is catered for all customers in the restaurant, so you can join as long as there are 2 people in a team. No matter if you're lovers, friends, or relatives, this is open to everyone. Si Xia tilted his head and looked at Yi Wanwan. Ninth aunt, what? Yi Wanwan suddenly had a bad feeling about this. I want to play and you have to go with me, Si Xia said firmly. Yi Wanwan was speechless. Didn't you just say it's boring? Si Xia raised his brows. Now it's not boring, I want to get the $30,000. I haven't had enough money to spend lately. Who would believe that bullshit? Si Xia narrowed his eyes. You're the one who brought me out. Are you just going to abandon me like that? As an elder, can't you satisfy this little request of mine? Yi Wanwan was speechless. He made it sound as if she actually wanted to bring him along. Anyway, you really want to play too? Si Xia muttered. Yi Wanwan denied it instantly. Says who? I don't want to play at all. Are you sure? It's $30,000. She didn't even let go of $30 just now. How could she not be moved by $30,000? Si Xia knew very well that Si Han wouldn't play this game with her, so he egged her on intentionally. Yi Wanwan obviously knew this little devil's intentions, so she glared at him fiercely. I said I'm not playing. Si Han sipped his tea and didn't look too unhappy.